Hello everybody and welcome. In this video solution, we are going to talk about the problem longest turbulent subarray. You're given the input as an array and you want to find the maximum possible length of this turbulent subarray inside of the array. There are a couple of things going on, so let's break it down. The first part we want to talk about is what does turbulent mean? And what does turbulent mean? It's split it out into two different cases. One of the cases is all of the odds are low and the evens are high, and the other is odds are high, evens are low. Okay, what does that mean? Let's take a look at the visual over here, and I've marked the current subarray in consideration with these yellow bounding lines. Now inside of this yellow area, what I'm wanting is this condition to be followed. Let's say that all of the odds should be low and all of the evens should be high. And we can see that odd is low over here, and corresponding to that, the next even is higher than the previous odd. Similarly, the next odd is going to be lesser than the previous even, and the next even should be higher than the previous odd, so on and so forth. We have the sort of zigzag pattern that we want to follow. This is one possible case. There could be another where the odds are highs and the evens are low, so an exact flip of this case. The key to note here is that you can only pick one of them. You can only pick the first case or the second case. You can't pick both of them at the same time. Okay, once you pick one of those, how can you figure out what this area is? Right, if you can figure out what this sort of yellow bounding area is, then you can very well return the length of that area. So now let's talk about the second part, which is sliding window. Now, how do we actually come to this sliding window thing? See, the original question asks something interesting. It is saying longest turbulent subarray. It is wanting you to figure out what is one possible subarray that follows some of the conditions. Those conditions are maximum length and turbulence. Subarray is sort of the key point here. And now let's think about subarrays. Now, what are subarrays? These are parts of the arrays where elements are lined up contiguously, which means that in a particular subarray, there can be no breaks in the middle. This is different from subsequences, for example, where you can have breaks in the middle where elements in the middle can be deleted. In this case, there can be only one contiguous string of array that you consider. And that may seem like a sort of constraint, but we're actually going to exploit that constraint very soon. And what we can think about that is we can think of this particular subarray as a window. Again, a window is defined by these left and right pointers specifying where it starts and where it ends. And this window can sort of slide over the array, figuring out where is the possible answer. And in this way, we can find the answer. Once we slide over all of these possible combinations, we can just pick the maximum length giving one. But there is another problem. How do you find the length of this window? You can iterate over all of the elements for sure, but how do you figure out how big the window should be? So we'll actually want to talk about this part as well. Let's say that I'll give you an L. I give you an L and I ask you, given this L, can you tell me the best possible R for this given L? What I mean by that is, given this starting point, which could be anywhere in the array, given this starting point, can you figure out what is the longest possible the longest possible subarray of this array? Right, I'm going to give you the start point. Now, what sort of conditions do you want to follow so that you can get the best possible answer? Well, you can always look at this question, you can look at this condition over here which says that odds are lows and evens are high. Let's just focus on that one condition first. And so given an L, I want to start off the R right next to it with one element plus to it. Okay, we'll start off at that point and we'll ask the question, hey, is the odd low or is the even high? If the current element, this guy we're looking at, if it's odd, is it lower than the previous one? Or if it's even, is it higher than the previous one? If any of these conditions are being followed, we can increase this R pointer by 1. And so our window size has increased by 1. I'm still fixing the L, I'm still giving you the cell, but you have found an answer better than the previous one. And you can keep on iterating and going over this, building over the answer slowly as you look at each and every single new element, and you can follow this condition odd, low, even, high. Now, life is not always so good and you'll have to stop at one point of time. Given this L, you can find this one possible R over which you can't go. Like you have this R set over here and you can't move to the next element further to it. And that's because this condition will be not followed. There is a crazy element over here which is going to break your subarray. At that point, you want to do two things. First, you want to save this. This may be a possible answer. And the second is, how do you now talk about L? L I gave you initially. I gave you the starting point of where to start. But can you now figure out where do you want to start? Let's say that this point which I gave you initially was the point 0, the starting point, and you were able to find this sort of window over here. Now I'll ask you the question, hey, can you figure out what's the next possible starting point for this particular array? And you can say that, you know what, I'm just going to do L plus equals to 1. Maybe I'll just look at the next element. Now, is that useful? If you look at the next possible element, you have just decreased the size of possible answer. You were already looking at L to R, which was giant subarray, but now you've just reduced its size. That's no use. You can do L plus equals to 2, and it's the same story. In fact, you can go over all of these L's and you'll figure out that each time you iterate over these L's, you're just reducing your answer. You're not doing anything productive. But there's a point at this particular point, well, this R is the same as this particular L, at which now you can again start looking at the new window. And so you can do this sort of process over and over. You can start with the point 0. You can start with any starting point. You can figure out what's the maximum possible length of this window over here, the best possible answer for this starting point. And once you've saved that as the answer, you're going to look for a new window. And you can do that by just moving your pointer just over here. So wherever this particular window ended, you're just going to start it right next to it. And you can just do the same computation over and over. And that is the answer. This is one part of the answer. The second part is just doing the same thing again, but instead of odd, low, even, high, you're going to check odd, high, even, low. That's it. So just by looking at the very basics of what the question asked you and exploiting the properties in there, we're able to get to a solution. Now we'll actually go ahead and code this up. Okay, so what's the first thing we want to do? We want to have n equals to the length of array, and we'll also want to have this L equals to 0 starting off with. And if you also look at this part, when I'm doing this L equals to R guy, when I'm setting L equals to R, I also want to move the R plus equals to 1, right? I don't want to have L and R both at this same point. I actually want to have R plus equals to 1 so that we can start our journey again. What this means is, look at this. We have R plus equals to 1 over here and over here L also, which means that we can just use a for loop for this guy. So we'll just iterate over all the R's. In what range? If you're starting with L equals to 0, you'll have to start with R equals to 1. And similarly, for any possible value of L, you'll always want to start off with R plus equals to 1, which is what we have over here. In any case, the initial value for L equals to 0 will be R equals to 1. And R can go all the way up till the very end. Okay, once we have L and R in hand, what do we want to do? Let's look at this condition over here. This condition is the most important one, so we will want to implement this first. Here we have two pieces of information that we want to give. First, is it odd or even? So let's actually write a function over here which is going to do just that. So let's have this comparison function taking the input as odd or even. So it will be a binary, is it odd or is it even? Is the current element we're looking at odd or even? Now, whatever that is, depending upon that, we can do this low or high thing. But this low or high thing is also in comparison to the previous element, right? When you're looking at this particular element over here, you want to know the two pieces of information. First, is it even or odd? In this case, it's even. And second, is it higher or lower than the previous element? So we'll actually want to have a previous element and the current element over here. And let's only look at this case over here. Let's try to just implement this one where odd is low and even is high. So in case we have this odd over here, we want to return odd low. Odd is low, which means that if the current element we're looking at is lower than the previous one, then that's good. So the current element should be lower than the previous one. And the flipped condition would be just the opposite, will return current greater than previous. You can also write this in one simple line, that's the same thing. Okay, now we have this comparison function ready. We can go ahead and start comparing things. The first thing we want to do is figure out this odd part, which is just going to be r and 1. We're going to use bitwise operator to figure out whether r is even or odd. Once we know r is even or odd, what do we want now? We want the previous element, which is going to be the array of r minus 1, and the current element is going to be array of r. Cool. We have all of the important pieces of information. Now we'll go ahead and call the comparison function. If comparison of odd, previous, and the current is true, we'll do something, else we'll do something else. So in case it's true, we just do r plus equals to 1, which is not really much. We're already doing that for the for loop part. But if it's not following this condition, we'll do l equals to r. Okay, so else l equals to r. Actually, this is just going to be passed. So what we can do is we can just invert this. If not this guy, then do this computation. Pretty easy. Okay. Now we have most of the logic ready. There's only a couple of things that we need to do. First is we actually want to store the answer. We haven't stored the answer up till now. So we'll create this variable called answer and we can initialize it with 0. Think about why we can also initialize it with 1 is the same thing. Okay. Now for every answer, I want to store the maximum possible of answer and the distance, the total size of current window I'm looking at. Now what is the distance of a window? How is a window defined? It's defined by these L and R pointers. So the distance between an L here and an R here is going to be R minus L plus 1. Simple math. And at the end, we can return the answer. Cool, so we're done, right? Let's actually also consider this 2x part, which is we don't actually want to just look at this condition over here. What if it's this second guy over here? Initially, when we're starting off, we don't know which of the cases to follow. We just pick one arbitrarily. So we'll actually want to iterate about this guy as well. Now you can copy paste and that would still work and just flip out the signs for the comparison function, but we can do something smarter. Okay, let me explain. We can do for flip in true, we can do for flip in false. First we're not flipping this and then we're flipping this. So we'll have for false and true. We'll also bring this L equals to 0 inside of this and yeah, cool, we're set. Okay, so what does this flip mean? See, when you're flipping, all you're trying to do is you're going to make this odd as even and the even as odd. That's the only difference between these two cases. So what you can do is, okay, let me just pause. You can pause right here, think about this. The odd gets converted to even, the even gets converted to odd. You're just flipping the bit in the second case. So what we can do here is that we'll say, you know what, if it's a flip case, just do odd equals to not odd. Just flip the odd bit and the rest of the computation remains as is. We'll go and try running this, see for any syntax errors. Looks like it's correct and we can submit this. Okay, wrong answer, output 0. Cool, nice. Wanna try debug this? Very nice, very nice. Why is it giving me the output 0? Okay, cool. Yeah, so this will not work out. Oh, damn, that's interesting. Okay, so why is answer equals to 0 and not good initialization? Answer equals to 0 says that there is no possible subarray inside of the original array that is going to give you the answer. So actually it always has to be 1. Wait, I never thought about this. This is very good. Good stuff. Okay, so answer always has to be started off with 1. And that's because you can always select any one single element and claim it to be a subarray. And so your answer can always be greater than equals to 1. Nice. Okay, we'll try submitting this and it's accepted. Cool. So yeah, anyways, for quick spacetime complexities, this entire comparison function will run in order of 1 time, taking order of 1 space. That's fine. We also have this flip thing which will run in order of 2. So which is just the same as order of 1 time. This function will take order of n time, so we'll have order of n over here, and the total is going to be order of 1 times the order of n since they are nested, which is just the order of n. Anything else we're storing? We're also storing only these couple of simple variables, so nothing else, and the total spacetime complexity can be order of 1 space and order of n time. Cool, that's it. Thanks for watching.